Linda, we are. We are.
Let's get everybody into the room and seated. We need to get a move on. Would everybody please be seated? Stop the conversations. Hello. I know. Thanks for coming. Oh my gosh. All right, we need to get started. Everyone be seated, please. Everyone be seated, please. Thank you very much. Stop the conversations. Everybody needs to hear what's going on. My name is Linda Locke. I am president of the Berryessa Citizens Advisory Council. We usually present our minutes and our treasurer's report, but you can check online to see those tonight so that we can keep things moving. We usually have law enforcement here tonight. There's no pictures, no cameras, no pictures, no, didn't I say that to you?
No video.
No pictures. No, I don't want to see any phones out. I'm going to go over all the rules in a minute, okay? Goodness me days, okay. So our law enforcement, we have, I need your attention, please. Law enforcement, the California Highway Patrol officer is here, Officer Ruiz. He'll come up and give us a short report. Thank you.
Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you guys? Good. All right, so let's address our main issue going on right now that we received was the homeless encampment on 680 northbound, just off the Berryessa off-ramp right there. So since the last month, we have made over 15 contacts with those individuals right on the right-hand shoulder. Over 8 arrests. Last week, I was actually out there with them, with all our new officers that just got to San Jose. We found some drugs, got some more in arrest. You know, it's good that you guys, brought that to our attention. We were aware of it, but we weren't aware that it was that big. So now, we notify Caltrans. They're going to go post it, and hopefully pretty soon that should be gone. And we'll keep patrolling the area, and we'll keep them off the freeway. Yeah, of course. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Our guidelines for the candidate forum, they did go out, but I will review them. There's no distribution of campaign literature in the meeting room. That's why we have everything set up outside if you want to talk to the candidates and get any of their literature. Please mute all of your electronic devices. No direct interaction among or between candidates. So this is not a debate. They're going to answer the questions that we have asked our community to supply us with questions, and they've been prioritized. So each candidate will have to answer the same question. Let me see. Respect the time allotted to each candidate. We're going to have a timer, and they get 2 minutes for each answer that they have. Do not applaud, because if you applaud after each candidate, that takes away time to ask questions. So we want to get as many questions in as we can, okay? Candidates may stand or remain seated while answering questions, however you feel comfortable. We will let each candidate introduce themselves for 2 minutes, and then the questions will be asked. one candidate will start, and then the second round of questions, the next candidate will start, and then the third, so that they're not answering the same first time question each time. Okay, are those all clear? Are we all set? All right, I'm going to turn this over to Roxanne Fuentes, who will be the moderator tonight.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Roxanne Fuentes, the proud superintendent of the Berryessa Union School District, and I'm also the vice president for BCAC. I would like to thank all of our neighborhood associations that coordinated in sponsoring today's event. Along with the Berryessa Citizens Advisory Council, we're also joined by the Beautify Berryessa Neighborhood Association, the Creekside Neighborhood Association, and the Penitencia Neighborhood Association. And as our president Locke shared with you, all of our residents had the opportunity to submit questions for this evening's event. And so that's what we have here is questions directly from our Berryessa residents that we will be asking of each of the individuals here this evening. Just once again, there's 2 minutes of time. We do have a timekeeper up in the front row, and we also have signs that will let you know how much time you have left, so please monitor that accordingly. So we will go ahead and begin, and we're going to start initially just with your introductory statement to our community, and we'll go ahead and begin first with Matt.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Max Shaw. Namaste, 大家好. Chinese name is Xia Weijun. I'd like to thank BCAC for sponsoring this event and all of you who came out tonight as caring voters. Look, I don't have much hair, but I love my community, my country, more importantly, Jesus Christ, and I am here to serve you and your voice. Just a quick little story. I was born in South Carolina. Parents immigrated from Taiwan, but I've grown up here in Berryessa, and I still do live here for over 30 years in this district. And I remember the better days. I've run successful food retail businesses for over a decade, and semi-retired now, and a lot of my friends and volunteers and colleagues told me to, Max, get up to Sacramento and improve things. And here I am. One thing you may not know about me is I love country music, being born in South Carolina. I love line dancing. I teach as well, so if anybody wants lessons or know the best line dance places, hit me up. But just like you, okay, I drive on the same patchy roads around here, pay ever-increasing taxes, and have experienced or witnessed crimes with little to no consequences. It's time we bring back common sense around here. What is common sense? We shouldn't be judged by our skin color when being admitted to colleges and work. I'm referring to ACA 7. Children should not be confused by gender identities, and we need accountability for crime and government spending. I would be honored to represent your voice in Sacramento with my unrelenting passion, work ethic, and desire to bring moderation back to our state and our district. And I would be honored to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblymember Alex Lee.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Alex Lee. I'm proud to have served as your state assembly member for the last 6 years since 2020. Time has flown. I'm really glad to have made it here, too, because I was up in Sacramento just 2 hours ago voting on about 40 different bills. And I'm very proud of the real results that I brought for Berryessa. I live in Berryessa. I grew up in Berryessa as well. And I'm very proud to represent it. You know, there's a lot of people who can speak about rhetoric and promises they can make, but you should judge me based on my record of results. I have gotten about over $84 million of investments back to our district, 10 million of which went to the new middle school gym over here at Piedmont Middle. And those are real dollars that historically did not come back to our district. Even though our Silicon Valley district is very wealthy and produces a lot of tax dollars, we have not fundamentally been asking for our little bit of fair share back to the district. And because I sit on the budget committee and I have several different committee leadership positions, I've been able to fight for money back for us. And in the big picture, I'm fighting for our fairness, making sure that our tax dollars go to investments that directly benefit us, our children in schools, to our seniors. And to that extent, I'm trying to pass a tax break bill to waive capital gains for seniors who sell their house, and then they will also enjoy Prop 19 benefits when they move or have different homes. And that is fundamentally what my experience has been in Sacramento, fighting for the working class, fighting for everyday people so that you all have a fair shake in California. And being on the budget committee and in leadership, I've been able to deliver results back for Berryessa, and I really hope to earn your vote again to continue representing Berryessa in the California State Assembly. Thank you.
Good evening. It's an honor to be with the BCAC tonight. I'm Yan Chao, and I'm from Fremont, and I also see quite a few of my Fremont friends here. And I'm running to represent you in the California State Assembly District 24. My journey to this stage began decades ago when I arrived in this country as an immigrant. Just like many of you, I came here chasing my American dream. The belief that through hard work, education, and perseverance, anything is possible. I lived in that dream, earning my PhD from Harvard and building a career as a scientist in biotechnology. But today, I see that dream slipping away for too many families in the community. As a Fremont City Council member for the last 8 years and a school board member for 4 years, I know to keep the American dream alive, we must address the practical challenges of our time, especially in California. That is why my campaign is focused on 3 key pillars. Reducing the cost of living, we must make California affordable again, starting with enhancing housing affordability. I will work to streamline the development of homes for the middle class and reduce the red tape that make living here a financial burden for our families and young professionals. My second pillar is enhancing public safety, and that is very important for us to have a strong community with the feeling of being safe in our own neighborhood. I'm committed to supporting our first responders, and the last one is fiscal accountability. As a scientist, I believe in data and results, and that's what I did in Fremont. So tonight, you will hear not only about my ideas, but also my experiences. I'm running for the assembly to make sure the same opportunity I have belongs to you too.
Thank you. With this next question, we will begin with Assemblymember Lee. And this question states, what is your position on state sanctuary policies, cooperation with federal immigration enforcement, and the impact of illegal immigration in California cities and budgets?
So I have to first say is that immigration makes America great. I'm proud to represent a district that is 60% Asian American. 6 out of 10 people are Asian American. Most people in our counties are born in another country altogether. Immigration is what makes the American dream work, which makes Silicon Valley work. And what you're seeing now from the far right-wing federal regime is a campaign of terror. There are American citizens, as you've seen very clearly in Minnesota with Alex Preddy and Renee Good, who have been killed on the streets, and the federal government is not remorse whatsoever. Those are very high-profile deaths. But there are over 8,000 people currently sitting in California in for-profit private detention facilities working with ICE at the moment. Many of them are legal card holders, they are residents, and they sometimes are also citizens as well, who are suffering in inhumane gulag-like conditions. And this is not making our streets any safer. If you see how the reign of terror has attacked LA and other cities across the nation, this is not about public safety. Immigration is not about even immigration. Immigration is boring. It is about paperwork, it is courtroom procedure. It is not masked men coming out of unmarked vans, kidnapping people, or murdering American residents. And that is why I'm very proud to be working on several pieces of legislation to make it harder for us to aid and abet ICE at all in their campaign of terror. And I will say this, I'm very proud of our sanctuary policies because we need to be protecting immigrant families, and that is the message we need to be sending out to everyone. The vast majority of people detained, arrested at all, over 85% of them have no criminal record whatsoever. In fact, many of them are also citizens and residents, and longtime residents as well. So if we are to really have a strong, rational immigration system, it needs to be done through rational paperwork system, not through armed men with guns kidnapping people and possibly murdering American citizens.
As an immigrant, as I explained before, this issue was still near to my heart. I'm the benefit of the successful and orderly immigration policies. And you see why I'm here. I came here legally, and I went through all the legal procedures and finished all the paperwork in order, first of all, to have my status as a foreign student. And then, as a worker, and eventually, look at me, I became the local elected official. I simply did not just walk over the border, wondering that I can take any shortcuts while taking away opportunities that belong to those people that believe in our legal system, immigration system. And imagine if you are lining up for something in the store, and suddenly a lot of people just cut the line. How do you feel? Is that fair? No, it's not fair to us. There was a lie about, all the attacks about the ICE. But think about it. It reminds me of 2020 when we're shouting defunding the police. In Fremont, half of the people were naturalized, not born in this country. They're immigrants. However, guess how many ICE operation happened last year? And this year altogether, just once, just targeting one person. So I believe in that ICE should get rid of all those criminals out of this country. They don't belong here. And I also feel that us, the legal immigrants that work so hard to gain our status and try to give back to the society as I did in the past should also be recognized and honored. We should encourage more people like me rather than keeping all the criminals that just walk over the border here in our community. Thank you.
This is a very important topic, okay? Immigration is great, important, legal immigration. We're not just gonna open up our borders and let people flood in with no accountability. And by the way, just to share a concept with you, this country was founded based on settlers, not immigrants. They built this country from scratch. Now, yes, you can go back as far history as you want. The tribes as well, they fought against each other. I'm talking about the United States of America. When you come to this country, you assimilate with the laws and the culture. There's no shortcutting here. Now, being an immigrant is a privilege, and we do need to cherish that legally. I am against sanctuary state policies here in Santa Clara County, and especially District 24. We need to prioritize our citizens. Does anybody know how much we pay in Medi-Cal for undocumented residents in California? Wild guess? $9 billion of our tax dollars. Total social welfare, $32 billion. It is not sustainable. We need to prioritize our own residents, citizens, our tax-paying citizens, our veterans, and also the homeless, okay? What is the alternative? If there is no way to vet our immigrants, you just let people flood in? Do you guys open up your doors just to let people come in? That's why we have locks. That's why we have security. It's the same process as a business and as a home. We need to vet the people who come in, and it is completely unfair to all those legal immigrants, like my parents from Taiwan, Yang Shao's, okay, all the rest of you who came here as immigrants. We cherish immigration, but conveniently forget the word legal. We need to make sure immigration is sustainable, and I am against sanctuary state and cutting the line.
With this next question, we'll begin with Mr. Shao. Many federal workers did not receive their regular pay due to the most recent government shutdown. This seems to be a common trend. Share your position regarding elected officials being fined the equivalent of their daily salary when there is a shutdown due to a budget impasse.
Sure. Right now, it's sad to hear and see that partisan politics actually is taking the whole country hostage. I believe the federal government shutdown is, in fact, the result of the result of the partisan struggle in Congress. And fortunately, in the city of Fremont, we don't have that partisan system. Everyone is working towards the same goal, to make our city more and more beautiful. Fremont has been ranked the happiest city in the U.S. in the last 7 years, and the best place to raise children in the last 4 years. Why? Because we focus on those practical issues. For example, public safety. For example, road maintenance. And we always try to build trust with the bargaining units and try to solve their issues. Sure, last year we did have an impasse in the labor negotiation, but eventually it got resolved peacefully and everyone was happy. Because we all understand that we need to share the same burden locally, and we have to make tough decisions while making sound fiscal decisions. It's a shared burden, and we use our mutual trust to go through that. And I hope all the politicians at the state level, especially at the federal level, should follow the success of Fremont and focus on practical issues, not ideologies and partisan struggle.
So in California, as per the Constitution, state legislators actually lose their benefits and compensation should we not pass our budget by June 15th every year. And I am happy to report every year since that constitutional amendment has been passed, we have passed the budget on time and balanced every single year. Our budget is now almost $300 billion, and when I started, it was closer to $200 billion. And that is because the success of California. We grew from the 5th to the 4th largest economy in the world if we were on a country, and at the same time, continue to expand our investments in schools and in healthcare. And I also want to say is that the budget is a great reflection of our values, and I'm very proud to have served on the Budget Committee since I was sworn into office in day one during the pandemic, when we fast-tracked education money, and we made sure that in times of crises that, during the pandemic, we're able to fund our schools to the highest level they ever had been at that history. Now, it's not enough, but it's historically the high, and we continue to put it towards the high. And when the federal government shut down, because of partisan bickering and stuff that happened, and people lost their SNAP benefits, their EBT benefits, it was the state that we hurried money towards the food banks and continue to do that. As chair of the Human Services Committee, I oversee the entire social safety net system. And I have to remind people that 1 in 3 Californians live in poverty. And many millions of Californians are undocumented. They only have the crime of not having the right paperwork. So when people are starving or they go to the ER, there is an externality cost there. And the reality is that we have to take care of each other because they take care of our economy and they take care of us as well. And so it's important that we have investments to go broad-based to everyone, and making sure that kind of accountability happens is when you have senior leadership with someone like me who's been on the Budget Committee for 6 whole years.
I just want to confirm the question. I'm not sure if the answers are being reflected in the question.
Sure, I'll repeat it. Many federal workers did not receive their regular pay due to the most recent government shutdown. This seems to be a common trend. Do you support elected officials being fined the equivalent of their daily salary when there is a shutdown due to a budget impasse?
My answer is yes, I do support that. The public employees serve the public, and especially in times if strikes are illegal, there have to be consequences, or otherwise the law means nothing. If there is an impasse, again, I do support if people are walking out on their publicly elected duties, they shall be fined. That's my answer.
Thank you. With this next question, Mr. Shaw will begin with you. California faces chronic budget boom and bust challenges, due in large part to its reliance on high earners and capital gain taxes. What specific challenges, if any, would you make to the state tax code to improve fiscal stability and economic growth? And this is Max starting.
No, I think that it's,
Yes, I'm keeping track here.
The question is how to promote.
What specific changes, if any, would you make to the state tax code to improve fiscal stability and economic growth?
Okay, thank you. Speaking of budget, from Mr. Lee, we are $497 billion in debt. Okay? I don't know how you frame that, how large the budget is, but it's in debt. We used to have a surplus. We need to bring it back to the black. Okay? Taxes. Taxes is a last resort. We have the highest taxes in the nation right now. Speaking of taxes, I would be against AB 1421, which one of my opponents here voted yes for, which is the continued study of the mileage tax. We already pay the highest gas tax in the nation, 69 cents per gallon. Our roads are getting worse here. I don't know if you drive the same roads as me. I do. On Calaveras, Berryessa, Milpitas. Why is it the same quilty patchwork? We're doing like the roller coaster ride left and right. What is going on here? I want accountability. First, okay, an audit of every single contractor work. Why are they patching the same parts of the roads like seems every 2 months? There's something going on here. There are states that pay a fraction of the gas tax and their roads are exponentially better than what we experience here. I want to do a business style reevaluation of our contractors. It needs to be based on quality of work. If they miss deadlines consistently, we need to hold them accountable. I was the one who fought against Measure A here last year. A lot of volunteer work to push against the higher sales tax increase. Unfortunately, it got passed, but I was battle-hardened from that with all my volunteers and ready to take this fight to Sacramento. We need a reevaluation of our budget. Yes, we do have the biggest state economy in the country, but we also have the biggest debt as well. It's an upside-down system. We need to start holding our projects accountable, and I call it one milestone. Where's our high-speed rail? Okay, they're building nice statues. So one milestone at a time is they must complete a single working mile between two stations before they get more of our tax dollars.
Thank you.
Well, I really like this question because it gets me to nerd out on tax code, which is my specialty. So the top 1.1% in California pay an effective tax rate, this is all the taxes that they pay, everything, right, of 12%. Do you know what the bottom 20% of all California's effective taxation rate is? 11.7%. It is not zero because they do pay taxes. 11.7%. The difference between an ultra-billionaire and people who are struggling to survive is 0.3%. Let that sink in. And California is home to more billionaires than anywhere else in the world except for the People's Republic of China. Except for that. And they pay an effective tax rate that is far lower than a teacher, a nurse, or even a retiree, because our taxation system does not capture their wealth. It is only good at taking people's paychecks and income or sales. But when you graduate to a Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk level, you're not making money off of paychecks anymore. You have assets, and it makes you very, very rich. That is why I'm proud to be the supporter and author many times of the billionaire tax multiple times to reorient it. I've also not been supportive of sales tax increases. Right now, the city of Fremont wants to up their sales tax cap, and they need state authorization to do so. And I said, I won't support that. The reality is this, I would not support more taxes on working people, regressive taxes, until we fix our tax code on the ultra-rich and the corporations. I am one of the two only state legislators in the state legislature that does not take any money from corporations. Any money whatsoever from corporations in my campaigns. That way I can fight against them and make sure we reorientate the tax code. You know why every time that something needs to be funded, it becomes a sales tax? Is because the corporations won't fight it. Why is it that every time we try to fund, we have to tax overpaid CEOs or their corporate revenues, which is in the trillions now in their market share? Why is it we don't do that? It's because they will spend millions and millions of dollars against the election, and it is far more politically expedient to go after regular people. That is why I am standing up to be the voice of working class people in California.
Actually, I think ever since I became a citizen and started to vote, every other year on the ballot, you'll see some tax increase measures and some bonds issues that you have to vote on. And it takes turns. This year was water project. Next year was some other like roads, and then the third year, it was something different. Anyway, and I feel that California has no issue with tax income. Rather, it has a spending issue, accountability issue. And if I were elected to the state assembly, I'll first take a look at the fiscal accountability and try to see, for example, how those taxpayers' money are spent. Your gas tax money, are they really spent on the infrastructure and road maintenance? And all the corporate tax, they are the highest also, at least the second highest in the whole nation. And is that really helpful for attracting all the businesses to California and create a pro-business environment? You see all the exodus of companies moving out of California, big or small. If they move out, where do you get your tax revenue? Where do you have all those jobs back? All those people who are getting paid and pay tax, how are they going to have enough money to pay tax and or do investment and pay capital gain tax to the state government? So instead of increasing the tax, I will just fight for fiscal accountability and lower down any visible tax and invisible tax, like the disaster of our insurance system and all the other like public safety cost, cost of living, hidden tax, move them away and try to really encourage the government to spend their money with accountability. Thank you.
With this next question, we'll begin with Assemblymember Lee. There have been restrictions on water storage in reservoirs due to earthquake compliance regulations. Would you support significant investment in water infrastructure, new reservoirs, or recycling to prepare for future droughts? What areas of spending would you target for reduction in order to make this possible?
So very much on the vein of the similar question, if we want to have nice things, we have to pay for it. That's called fiscal responsibility. And when it comes to water infrastructure, in the California state budget, we have continually put more money in there because of smart bond investments. It's not appropriate to put in from the general fund, but bonds are good for infrastructure. So when we passed Prop 4 last year, that was the climate bond, a lot of that money is going towards water infrastructure. Similarly, if we want to be smart about our water use, we have to invest and strategize about water recycling as well, because it's good, hopefully, to capture rain when it comes, but we also need the infrastructure to be able to recycle seawater and turn into potable water as well. I also want to clarify something in the past because, or that was brought up earlier, because I do take myself seriously as a legislator, and I do read all the bills, and so there's been a lot of hubbubaloo about AB 1421. It's not a tax, it's studying different options about vehicle miles traveled. Because the reality is this, how do most people pay for the roads? Pay through the gas tax, right? But what does a Cybertruck pay? What does a Tesla Model S pay? Nothing, right? Because they don't pay at the pump. So we have to figure out alternative ways about wear and tear. Because your tiny Prius does not tear up the road like a Cybertruck does. And so we have to figure out ways where drivers all collectively figure out how do we pay for the roads. Because it doesn't come for free. Someone's got to pay for it, and we have to make grown-up decisions about how do we equitably share in this responsibility together. Because right now, Tesla drivers don't pay a cent. But you, if you drive your Prius or you drive your RAV4, you are paying for that right now through the gas tax. And thanks to President Trump's asinine war in Iran and closing the entire Strait of Hormuz, has driven up the price of gas in the global market. So that is why it's important to study different alternatives, just like as we study more money for different sources of infrastructure, like water infrastructure.
Thank you.
I don't know about having like a more bond for water infrastructure in Fremont. We don't just charge citizens extra fees just for the services. For example, we don't just go and say, oh, we charge you road services, we charge you police services, we charge you for firefighting services. Actually, your taxpayers' money come to our city in a whole, and it's our responsibility to spend your money in a very responsive way. Instead of just saying, oh, let's just increase the tax here, issue a bond there. That is a total demonstration of the incapacity of the government, especially the state government. And I want to have our fair investment in water infrastructure, but more importantly, we need to use the water wisely. For example, you see the LA fires. That's because the water in Northern California cannot be directed to Southern California. So when the fire happens, there's just no water in the fire hydrant to put out the fire. That's also a big mistake for the local and state government. And so if you look at this area, actually all the way to Oakland Hills, this area is the second largest risky area for wildfire, only second to LA. And they already have their wildfires. So I propose that the state government really fund well the local firefighters and also do studies to make sure that when something like that happens, this area has enough water to fight the fire and protect our homes.
I fully support water infrastructure, but instead of paying for nice things, new things, we need to be efficient on what we already have, okay? We have sites, reservoirs that we can focus on, specifically Shasta and San Luis Obispo. We can raise existing dams, okay? We don't need to spend millions and billions of more new shiny things, as someone may have mentioned. We can do recycling and water reuse. Yang also mentioned that we can be more efficient on our current water usage. I remember we had a drought a couple years ago and we were required not to use water at certain times of the day. And that helped a lot, actually. And we can use existing methods to be more efficient instead of spending more money. We don't need new shiny things. We have the infrastructure, we just gotta be more efficient. Another point too I want to address is EVs actually do pay about half the road usage tax. They pay upfront on their DMV registration. So I would like to offer that correction, is that EV drivers do pay about half of the road usage tax upfront. So I'm just offering that correction. Now, yes, they can pay more, but we already have a huge budget from our largest gas tax rate in the nation to be more efficient on improving our roads. We do not need to raise mileage tax. I will let you know the quick statistic. On average, California drivers pay about $350 a year on the gas tax, which is the highest in the nation. With this proposed mileage tax that Mr. Lee voted yes for, the study of, which is going to cost us millions of dollars, by the way, it's going to quadruple the average spend to about $1,200 per year. They're going to charge us per step that we take eventually. As your assembly member, I would vote no on additional tax increases. We need better reform using our existing funds and infrastructure.
For this next question, we're going to begin with Mr. Yang Xiao. For this question, Proposition 47, which reduced the California prison overcrowding, was passed over a decade ago. And in 2024, California violent crime rate was 6th in the nation, 486 per 100,000. Would you support any rollbacks or modifications to Prop 47?
As I already said, public safety is near and dear in my heart. And Prop 47 was a proposition that misled the California voters. So you guys, or most of you all, voted for it, then we saw the disaster happen. And because of that, the city government, especially in the city of Fremont, we had to spend more money recruiting police officers, equipping them with more technologies to fight against all the rise of the crime. And we all suffered because of the mistake that we all made because of that misleading proposition. In 2024, I was openly supporting Proposition 36. And fortunately, we all realized that we have to undo the mistake, and we passed Proposition 36. But now, Proposition 36 is still not fully funded. Last year, I was standing in front of the Kim Hong jewelry store where they suffered the smash and grab robbery. An 88-year-old owner suffered brutal injury from that. I not only watched the video, but also stood with the victim. I stood in front of the jewelry store and demanded for funding of Proposition 36. So this is a wake-up call. If we do not try to fund Proposition 36, then the crime will still go on. And the police will still not have enough money and resources to fight against the crime. So it's not about changing the law. We already voted to change the law, but the state government, the budget, refused to give us the money. That's the problem. We need to continue to fight for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Mr. Max Shaw.
I am also prioritizing crime reform to fight crime. We need deterrence again, okay? People are walking out of stores with 2 handfuls of bags. They're not even running anymore. They're just strolling out. Any of you seen some of this happen or heard of it happen? I've witnessed it at least 5 times in the last 6 months. It's utterly ridiculous. There's also home invasion, stores that are being broken into. The thing is that sometimes these crimes don't involve bodily injury and they're just less prioritized. I have 3 specific ways to fund Prop 36 to actually bring deterrence in our communities again. Number 1 is I would like to create the MAX unit, and it stands for Maximum Accountability of Execution Unit, okay? We are going to be addressing non-violent crimes of store break-ins, windows being smashed, cars stolen, mailboxes being stolen as well. I've knocked on about 2,000 doors, okay, in the last 4 months collecting signatures and meeting my constituents. I've heard all these stories already. Their calls get lost in the pile because, you know, nobody was injured, so it's less prioritized. But it doesn't mean that we cannot hold these criminals accountable. So this unit that I would create would be a liaison for these victims and help them expedite and at least be in communication with the police force, okay? We also need more license plate readers and also CCTV camera footage at strategic intersections of busy communities and schools, so we don't just rely on our individual neighbors' cameras to track criminal movement. We need to see where they're storing all their the merchandise that they're stealing in their central base. So that is the first thing I pledge that I would like to create to fight crime. And with Prop 36, we need to have backing for it. We voted for this already, and we now need to enforce it. So I am in full support of bringing accountability to all criminals.
So Prop 47 passed when I was still in high school, so I unfortunately didn't have a chance to weigh in one way or the other. But I will tell you this, and wind back the clock back to when Prop 47 existed. We had such terrible prison overcrowding, the state of California was sending people to Nevada and investing in for-profit private prison companies, paying for-profit companies to house our inmates. We had such terrible conditions in there, and things had to change because there's been too much rhetoric about being tough on crime and not having a true understanding of how a courtroom works, how a judge and a jury decide on what is the appropriate thing. Instead, politicians went to the ballot box and in Sacramento to look tough. They said, if you steal a loaf of bread, I will give you 30 years. No, I'm going to do it better. I'll do 45 years. And that's how we had people living their entire lives in jail. Now, being on the budget committee, I'm taking a rational fiscal responsibility lens to this. Back when I was in high school and Prop 47 was not yet the law, we spent way more money in prisons than we did in higher educations. In the vast University of California California CSU and community college system. And now we have righted that ship because we now share the responsibility of accountability with our counties, our local enforcement, and the state. We share it together now. And I didn't hear any ideas about how to fund Prop 36, so everyone that says they want to lock more people up in jail, well, that costs money. And I would rather spend our hard-earned dollars on our students than on people locking more people up in jail and preventing people from being in jail or in prison in the first place. We need to make sure we are investing in the future, investing in our families, and not just perpetuating cycles of imprisonment over and over. And that is costly to taxpayer dollars. I want to remind you is that Prop 36 also did not have any funding attached to it. Instead, if it was in the budget stream, I have to give up something from schools, something on water infrastructure, something on public safety for fire. That is the real choices that we have to make as grown-ups in the process. And so it's really important to me to make sure that we are holding people accountable. And there are reasonable reforms that we've made over the years, like making sure that it was at $950 at a time. It was combined together.
Thank you.
We do all that together. Thank you.
For this next question, Max, will begin with you. California's unemployment rate is in the top 3 nationally, while businesses large and small are leaving the state. What regulatory or tax reforms would you pursue to make the state more competitive with states like Texas and Florida?
Yes, this is critically important. We have the biggest exodus of both residents and businesses, and we cannot afford to lose the production and also the tax revenue. We should not be punishing billionaires for being successful, okay? Because when we tax them and they're gone, who are they going to target next? The millionaires? Then the $100,000 people? They just keep going down the chain. So we must hold to our principles. Now, running small businesses for over a decade, I am, again, no stranger to over-regulation here, especially in food, okay? One example, just for food retail, we need to streamline the different counties of how they do their health permitting. There's different rates for different counties. It's so much more expensive in one county than the other. If you are qualified and permitted for the same qualifications to pass in one district, it should be the same across all of them. This is in more granular, but this is something that I've dealt with for over a decade. So the extreme costs of this, the overlapping redundancy as well, we just need to cut back red tape in general. And this is something I pledge to look into more detail. I'm not in terms of the actual tax revenue, because it has been several years since I've been semi-retired. I focus more on financial investment now. So these are things I pledge. If I don't know the exact solution and answer, I will go find it. And this is something I would like to bring up too, is for state assembly, there is no political experience criteria, nor education, and that's for an important reason. They want any of you to be able to participate in government if you have the passion and the time to volunteer and serve your community. I have the least political experience here, I'll be the first to admit, but I have a fresh set of eyes and experience. I've run successful businesses, and I want to take this fight to Sacramento for you guys.
Assemblymember Lee?
Could you repeat the question again? Sorry.
Sure. California's unemployment rate is in the top 3 nationally, while businesses, large and small, are leaving the state. What regulatory or tax reforms would you pursue to make the state more competitive with states like Texas and Florida?
Absolutely. So, being from Silicon Valley, about a third of the nation's GDP comes from some of the biggest market cap companies here. NVIDIA, of course, being one of the biggest ones of them. But these are tech companies that are openly flaunting using AI, artificial intelligence, to replace their workers. It's not just going to be people who work in retail lose their jobs. These are going to be software engineers, programmers, coders. They are going to lose their jobs because billionaires, tech billionaires now, from the Silicon Valley, are openly bragging about how they want to create the first $1 trillion net worth company with 2 human employees. Because that is the present danger, but yet opportunity that is in AI. California, I'm proud to have been co-author to many of the first-in-the-nation regulations and setting guardrails. Even the grandfather of AI has said, we need to put some guardrails on this thing because this is really going to fundamentally change society, not just on how our kids learn and process information, but if your job even exists today that you're studying for in college, or even if your children's jobs will even exist. And that is why it's important for us to invest in a real AI strategy. At the same time, in my dream world, we would be drastically simplifying red tape and taxation policy for small businesses and making sure that the large corporations with entire departments full of legal teams are the ones paying their fair share. Because it is inverse at the moment. Because you know why? Because large corporations, they pay for an army of lobbyists to take care of them, and they do not care about small businesses. They don't. They fundamentally do not care about small businesses, and that is why we need to make sure that we have a strong economic plan that supports diverse small businesses. We cannot invest all our eggs in Tesla, in NVIDIA, in Salesforce, because like Detroit or any other place, you anchor too much into one place, it is doomed to fail. It is not a good strategy. So you must diversify, and that's why in the legislature I've been very proud to support many and author many pieces of legislation that support vibrant small businesses so that they can cultivate and build true, strong communities.
All I hear is excuses, 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 because this has been ongoing for many, many years, even before AI came here. However, California has seen large companies leaving the state, A, because of high corporate tax and over-regulation, and two, soft on crimes. We've seen so many retail stores moving out of San Francisco because why? Because they don't prosecute those retail thieves. And in terms of corporate tax, sure, you can increase the corporate tax again and again. They have lags. They move. For example, Tesla moved to Texas. Fortunately, they still keep their factory in Fremont so that we can have their jobs they create. I don't believe it's because of the AI. Because in Fremont, we have already built ourselves as a hub for AI technology. We are home to 7 of the top 10 largest AI server makers in the world. And imagine how many jobs that create. It's all about how you try to put incentive, give incentive to the business so that they can stay here and make the local economy boom and then create the job opportunities for our next generations. And that is the key. And on the other hand, we have to be tough on crime. In Fremont, we passed the encampment ordinance in public place so that we can address the concerns our residents and our local business have. And we're also very careful in raising minimum wage because just simply by increasing minimum wage will drive a lot of small businesses out of business. So it's all about good policy versus bad policy. We don't need more taxes. On the other hand, we need more accountability.
Thank you. This next question will begin with Assemblymember Lee. California spent $37 billion, yet somehow increased the number of homelessness. What specific accountability measures and policy changes would you support or introduce to reduce unsheltered homelessness by at least 50% in the next 4 years? Would you entertain institutionalization in future legislation?
So this is an important question. Prior to about, I want to say 2018, 2020, the state spent nothing on homelessness. Why? Because it was for the cities and the counties to do it, and they had failed to do so. And that's why when the state stepped in with HAP grants, with other different housing, different things like multifamily housing tax credit. So we put a lot of money into the continuum of housing. Remember, housing is continuum. There is someone who sleeps on the street, and there's someone who's a property tycoon on the other end. Most of us exist in this continuum somewhere in the middle, much closer to someone who is about to lose their home than being a billionaire property tycoon. And what the state has been doing is making sure that we're steadily lowering the rate at which people are unhoused and increasing the rate in which people become rehoused. So in Santa Clara County, it used to be about for every one person rehoused, 4 people became unhoused. The number is now 1 to 1.3 about, And that is bad, because that number means it is still increasing. It needs to be less than one number, but without the state interventions, we would be far less. And that is why you're seeing the interim housing that happened in San Jose. A lot of that was state money, and all of it was state support as well, along with the county. And any of the supports and social services are also provided by the state and the county together. So without working together, we wouldn't be able to even reduce the tide. So ultimately, what we need to do is continue to invest in anti-poverty programs, continue to uplift people and get them into permanent housing, because the solution to homelessness is very simple. It is housing, but it is complicated to deliver in a long-term sustained way. Most people are one bad day or one medical emergency away from becoming homeless, even in the Silicon Valley. And we have to lead with compassion and investments that make rational sense. And that's why even on the budget committee, we demand results. For instance, and I'm going to run out of time, but the governor proposed a big program that was really bad in accountability. I fought to fix it the other way. We finally got a compromise on it, but basically allowed cities to spend the money and report on it afterwards, instead of a program we have where you report and submit a plan, and then you spend the money.
Thank you. Yang?
Here's rhetoric over result, excuses over data. However, in Fremont, we take things differently. In the last year, we have completed 5 new developments, including 567 affordable housing to our city. We also have another 756 units in the pipeline. And for our navigation center, we have a national success story of 60% of participants successfully transition into stable housing. Why? Because we want to make sure every dollar is spent correctly. We want to see the result. On the other hand, you don't see that accountability at the state level. In the last 5 years, they spent $24 billion. And guess what? The number of homeless people kept increasing. And also, they kept saying, oh, housing first, but they forgot to give dignity to those people. They don't believe those people can eventually stand up, work to become financially independent and permanently housed. So it's only giving. And when they violate the laws, there's no responsibility, no accountability. I believe Fremont's success lies in our approach, not only to provide resources, but also to have the enforcement. For example, through the camping ordinance, we want to make sure they are responsible when they behave in public place. So that is the difference between the local government and the state government. I run because I had enough. I want to bring the success story in Fremont into Sacramento.
Let's be real, the current system is failing. We spent $32 billion approximately over the last 5 years, and it's just gotten worse. We need to have reform. Now, we need to have compassion as well. I understand that. We have a multitude of reasons why people become homeless. Obviously, drugs, mental issues, but also cost of living. Did you know about 90% of our homeless are actually our local residents? They're actually, vast majority are not from other states. We are making our own residents homeless, okay? This comes from also cost of living, as I mentioned. We need stable housing, then services, not the other way around. We can't just be providing handouts to these people. We need to give them a proper route to become self-sufficient. So this is not a simple issue, I will admit, but we cannot be spending the most in the entire country and have it become worse. We need to reverse the cost of living, which comes from property ownership, sales tax, the gas tax, the mileage tax that's being proposed as well, and ensure that our local residents, and this goes into housing as well, we want them to become first home buyers. And I have 3 specific legislation for proposed bills to help our longtime residents here own their first home. In terms of the homeless situation directly, we can't just also ban encampments and just move them around. We have to solve it from the core issue. So this is a multifaceted problem that I admit would not be easy, but with the right team and policies in place, we can bring reform and improvement. But the current track, the way it's going is not working. Okay? If you want this to continue, you will vote for the same person. You don't need me. We are continuing down this spiral. Okay? We need a fresh set of eyes and perspective to work cross-party, especially in Sacramento, but with the full support of the conservative party, which is me.
Okay, thank you. We have reached our final question. We do want to be sure that there's a little bit of time for the audience to engage with you afterwards. And so with this final thought, if you can also include in it your closing statement. And in sharing your closing statement, if you could include one of your best accomplishments that you feel you've achieved for this community at large. And we're going to begin with Mr. Yang Xiao.
Thank you very much, BCAC, for hosting this forum, and to all of you who are here tonight. When I first arrived in this country as an immigrant, I carried with me a belief in the American dream. The idea that if I work hard and have a good education, any goal was reachable. I lived that dream, earning my PhD from Harvard and building a career in biotechnology. But now I want to have a chance to work in the state assembly because the dream is becoming harder and harder to achieve. Tonight, you have heard my plan to fix all those problems. It's not just based on political slogans. It's based on the Fremont model that everyone can see. One thing I'm very proud of is we enhanced the public safety, resulting in a 21% drop in property crime and a 34% decrease in shooting last year alone. And so my policy, we also demanded fiscal accountability, balancing our budgets and ensuring tax dollars were spent on technologies like drones and sensors that actually keep us safe. As a scientist, I don't just guess. I look at the data, I look at the result. The data tells us that California needs a course correction. I'm a husband, a father, and a local official who has spent over a decade serving our community. I'm ready to go to Sacramento to be your watchdog, to ensure our streets are safe, our state is affordable, and our government is accountable to each and every one of you, the taxpayer. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Mr. Max Xiao.
Yes, I'd like to thank everybody for showing up today again as caring voters. I know some of this is very boring in some ways, but this is the task that we are signing up to go tackle and be your voice, and I am excited for this opportunity. One thing I am proud of is building a successful food retail business and provide economic opportunity for my staff. We all did extremely well, and we were blessed for that, and also for hundreds of clients across the Bay Area, especially wedding clients. The looks that I saw from their faces when we made their wedding a success, I'm very proud of that. But also in relation to building teams, I have now built an incredibly strong volunteer team with my campaign of about 30 volunteers. I would say almost half of this room are from my fellow compatriots and volunteers. So I'm so honored to see you guys here, and thank you so much for all the hard work you guys have been doing. I appreciate you guys. And we are also representing moderation and being conservative here in Bay Area. But I want to say I am endorsed by obviously the Republican Party, but also the American Independent Party as well. And they endorse both Democrats and Republicans. I am the candidate. Now, I actually hope that Yang Xiao and I make it to the finals. If you guys come out to vote, it'll be him and I in November. If we can do it, it'll not be an easy task, but we can, okay? I would much rather either him or I up in Sacramento to represent you guys, okay? So get out the vote. Go tell 5-10 people to come out, all right? And we can absolutely do this. We need to break the supermajority as well, okay? 80 assembly member in Sacramento. How many are Democrats? 60. 20 are Republicans. Now, being independent is terrific as a voter, but if you want to be efficient in Sacramento, you have to caucus, you have to pick a side, but also work across the aisle. How many independents are in Sacramento? 0. Okay? That's just the way how it works in assembly. I want to represent our conservative voice. We are not trying to flip California red. We just want moderation and renegotiation on all these bills that they're passing.
Thank you. Assemblymember Lee.
Well, I'm very proud to have served Berryessa, where I grew up, as our state assembly member for the last 6 years. I'm very happy and proud and incredibly honored that this community took a chance on me because I took on the political establishment. When I was running for office the first time, 24 years old, in the state assembly, I took on the political establishment who outspent me 15-1, and I beat them. Even though I promised to go to Sacramento, shake things up, change the status quo, and not take a single amount of corporate lobbyist money. And I'm proud today to tell you that I have secured over $84 million back to our district, including for the Berryessa Gym, and also for the Fremont Housing Navigation Center. When it was not supported by all the city council members, I secured several $millions for that center. But also I've passed over 45 of my bills and they've been signed into law. I'm proud of things as small as banning cat declawing in all of California, because I'm a proud cat owner, I know Max is as well. So banning cat declawing and going all the way up to making sure that we are finally voting together whether or not we should have a billionaire tax. Because Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg, they are not paying the same tax rate as you or I. And so I'm very proud. And this race comes down to experience. I have been able to not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. I have been very proud to work so much alongside so many of you in the community and deliver back for our community, because ultimately it's about listening. And I know what it's like working across the aisle. I have also worked with Republican authors, that I have now, on very tough issues and get things done bipartisanly, because it does happen. Even though I'm chair of the Legislative Progressive Caucus, I work often with my Republican colleagues, and we get common sense things done because we both believe in working for the people, not corporate special interests. And I hope to continue to go back to work representing you, as I will in a couple hours. I'll go back to Sacramento, continue to vote in committees, and I really appreciate that you give me the chance to represent our community, because I also am wanting to be a homeowner and achieve that American dream right here and raise a family and start family listings. So the stakes are very real to me as they are to you. I hope to earn your vote once again in November and June. Thank you.
Thank you. If we could have all three candidates please stand. We appreciate all of them taking the time to be here with us this evening and sharing their perspectives and points of passion. With that, I will hand it back to our president, Linda Locke.
Oh, you were a very well-behaved audience. Thank you. Thank you. Very nice. I just have a couple announcements. One is that we have an executive board meeting next Monday at 6:30. Our next general meeting is coming up June 15th, and that'll be the last meeting before the summer. To July and August, we don't meet, and then we come back in September. So we wanted to give you some time. The candidates can come back here and mingle. You can drink coffee and eat cookies and ask the candidates some specific questions if you like. So we will adjourn with that note. What? Yes?
Can I ask if you'll just get one photo of the three of them up front? Is that allowed, or no photos?
No photos. We said no electronic devices, so I like to stick with that. So, but they can meet in the back hall or outside. Okay. Thank you all for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. Yeah.
Politicians look like you.